Welcome to Uncommon Sense, where we do our best to make it common again. I'm your host, Adrian Alquist, and today I'm joined by our previous host. I have the honor of being joined by Nancy Brown, who is a fellow Chestertonian and who is our Director of Communications as of recently. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And has done an amazing amount of work to help us get this conference ready, the Summer Chesterton Conference. And we're going to be talking a little bit about it today and giving you a sneak peek. But yes, you should go and register for the conference. I said that if everyone registers, that everyone who listens to this podcast registers, then I will stop talking about it. But yeah, you can go to chesterton.org/conference to register. But yeah, how are you, Nancy?
I'm doing great, Adrian. How are you?
Good, I'm great. Are you looking forward to the conference?
Oh, absolutely. We didn't get to have it last year. So, we had it virtually. And although that was a ton of fun, actually, way more fun than I thought it was going to be to have a virtual conference. I am so looking forward to seeing everyone in person again. I mean, I really look forward to the annual conference every year. It's like almost like a family reunion now, because I've been going for so long that I see a lot of the same people, but then you meet new people. And so it's really exciting. I can't wait.
I know we made the most of it last year at our virtual conference. I was in the back end doing the tech stuff, and that was a little bit chaotic, but we pulled it off. It was an experiment, and we'll be more prepared this time. You actually can sign up virtually still if you don't want to come in person. So to keep that in mind, you can go to chesterton.org/conference and you can register virtually. But yeah, so after one of the nights, actually both nights of the virtual conference, Nancy hosted the AfterGlows. Now, in person, we have the AfterGlows and everyone gets together and has a drink and just has a great time socializing. But last year we did it over a Zoom meeting, and we had a few hundred people together, and Nancy led one of the conversations, and it went great. I mean, you want to talk about that, Nancy?
It was amazing. We kind of split into two groups. I think Joe Grabowski was doing the other group. So you just randomly had people, but I had people like from Poland and the Philippines and Chile and Russia. It was just, and of course, Canada and the US. We just had this huge mix. Some people were up they were like, one guy was saying it's 6 a.m. for me. And we're like, oh my gosh. And then it was 7 a.m, then 8 a.m. He had stayed up all night. So yeah, we had great conversations, just getting to, really we got to talk to people that we normally don't get to talk to at a conference, because normally, someone from Poland isn't participating, but with the virtual component, it really helped. And then this year we're going to have that again. So we should be able to have people from all over the world participating in our conference this year. But yeah, the AfterGlows were fun, and they went late. Surprisingly, we just kept talking and people were just so hungry, to talk to each other, because it was right in the middle of everything last year.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get the best of both worlds from people around the world this year for sure. Yeah, well, I'm glad it went so well. I did pop into yours, and I popped into Joe Grabowski's meeting, and it was a lot of fun. Joe Grabowski was explaining a certain distributist concepts to people who were just really eager to really know what he thought. And yeah, what do you remember what you guys talked about a little bit?
Well, we talked about our favorite Chesterton book. So people would, and then they had to say why they liked it, and what was yours? You had, well, I have a story with orthodoxy, so I guess I would say orthodoxy, but I do have a favorite essay, and it's the emancipation of domesticity.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's a great one.
Yeah, everyone should go read that. I think it's you can find it publicly.
Yes.
Yeah, but you also should read Orthodoxy if you haven't. You should also pick up Orthodoxy and American Translation, which we recently made. Dale edited a little bit of Orthodoxy, but the principles are still there. The concepts and the wording, it has not changed. So that you should definitely pick that up. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about who's going to be at the conference. Who are the speakers? We've sent out a couple of newsletters about it, but I'm sure a lot of you haven't seen it. So, but yeah, let's talk about it. So first off, obviously, my dad, Dale Alquist, is going to be one of the speakers. And he is going to speak on the theme of the conference, which is the Laughing Prophet. and the subtitle is Finding Hope and Joy in This Crazy World. And I really actually don't know much more about it. I mean, you can probably guess where he's going to go with it, and he's going to incorporate Chesterton very, artistically and elegantly. But yeah, Nancy, did you want to say anything on that?
Just that your dad's talk is usually one of the highlights of the conference. It's usually the keynote on the very first night, which is Thursday night, and it's usually fantastic. So I always look forward to whatever he comes up with every year. And I wrote that title for him, so I'm not sure if he's speaking on that, speaking exactly on that title, but hopefully he'll say something about that.
Yeah, hopefully it just doesn't go off book. But yeah, okay, cool.
He can go off book too. I mean, he's good. Yeah. Even So
just
whatever
like Chesterton, he brings it back, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, secondly, this will draw some attention as well. Joseph Pearce is also going to be one of our speakers. And he is, for people who don't know, he's the editor of the St. Austrian View and Tolkien expert, Chesterton expert. I've interviewed him on this podcast. You should go check that one out. And he will be speaking on the humor and humility of Chesterton.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, did you want to say anything on Joseph Pearce?
Just that Joseph's been coming also to the conference for years. He's been known to do arm wrestling with people. He's been known to play soccer all night, which he calls football, but everyone else calls soccer. He's great. He really brings life to the conference, and his talk is also one that everyone usually anticipates because it's always good. He's such an expert. If you've ever seen him speak, I've seen him do this where he'll start and then he'll can't find his notes. And they're like in the jacket pocket of a jacket he didn't bring, but he's still able to give his talk.
Very Chestertonian. Chestertonian. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. I always look forward to his talk.
Yeah, he's very enigmatic, or sorry, not very animated, and very fun to listen to.
And has an amazing story. And if anyone hasn't read his story, Racing with the Devil, my gosh, you have to read that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So the next person on our list is Alan C. Duncan. And I've recently interviewed him on the podcast as well. And he was very, very interesting. That was the first time I met him. But he just wrote a book on C.S. Lewis and Chesterton. It's called Gilbert and Jack, because that's what C.S. Lewis went by. Gilbert and Jack, what C.S. Lewis found reading G.K. Chesterton. And so he got to see the original manuscripts of that C.S. Lewis had of Chesterton works, and you saw the notes that C.S. Lewis made, and he told his story so well, and it was very, very interesting and unique. So I think he's going to be talking on that at the conference and giving a lot more detail, and that should draw some attention because I've noticed people really like to talk about C.S. Lewis and Chesterton. Yeah,
that's true. And one of the great things is, so he's going to elaborate on what you guys talked about when you were talking. He's going to do a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, so he'll be able to show us some of the details of those notes that he found in Lewis's copies of Chesterton's book. But here's another connection. So most of his research was done at the Marion E. Wade Center at Wheaton College. We're going to be very close to Wheaton College at this conference that we're doing. In fact, we could be close enough to visit it, except that right at the moment they're closed because of COVID.
Oh, man.
And hopefully, I've written them an email saying, are you going to be open in time for July? Because it would be so great. The Wade Center honors 7 particular authors. One of them is Chesterton. One of them is C.S. Lewis. One is J.R.R. Tolkien. The others are, Dorothy Sayers. We're also going to have a talk on Dorothy Sayers, George MacDonald, and then there's a couple other ones that are less well known. But so Alan and his father both worked on that book, and they did their research at the Marion E. Wade Center, which is where I did my research also for my Francis book. So there's a lot of connections there, and it's just so exciting that we're that close. That
is amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If for the people who don't know, and you should, because I also interviewed Nancy on the podcast earlier. She wrote a book called The Woman Who is Chesterton. And it delves into all the details about Chesterton's wife, Gilbert's wife, Frances Chesterton. And it explores the kind of the saint behind the curtains, as it were. And so, yeah, if you want to pick that up, you go to chesterton.org/shop. Yeah, thank you. So the next person on the list is Crystal Downing. And other than having a cool name, I don't actually know much about her. I may have met her. I apologize, Crystal, if I should remember this stuff. But Nancy, can you shed some light on Crystal?
Well, yes, it's perfect that we just talked about the Marion E. Wade Center, because Crystal Downing is the co-president, I believe, of the Marion E. Wade Center.
Wow.
And so not only is she an expert on all 7 of those authors, but she helps run the Wade Center. And she's one of those people who helps you with your research and all that kind of stuff. So she is an expert on Dorothy L. Sayers. And so her talk is going to be on Chesterton's influence in Dorothy Sayers' work. And I think now she's going to probably give us the details, but I believe they met, and they were both part of something called the Detection Club, which was where they got together and they made rules about what a detective mystery should be. Oh, and cool. They also did these group projects where Chesterton would write one chapter and then pass it on to Dorothy, and she'd write the next chapter, and then the next person would write. So they wrote a couple of books that way, which were murder mysteries, like
the telephone game. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that too. Crystal's going to be there. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next person on the list is Father Spencer Howe, and I do know this person. We actually, with Nancy, you, I, and Father Howe, we went to England on a pilgrimage, right? You went.
I actually wasn't on that pilgrimage, but I have heard
I take that back. I swear that you were there. I had a vivid recollection. Okay, never mind.
That's interesting.
We went on a different pilgrimage, I think, and I think that's where I'm remembering. Anyway,
but that's okay. But yes, Father Howe was a teenager when he went on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where he started discerning the religious life. Wasn't that right? Yeah.
Yeah. He saw one of the priest holes in one of the houses that you guys were touring, and it had he was still a Lutheran at the time.
Oh, wow.
And so he had this insight that he should become not only just Catholic, but he should become a priest.
Wow. That's amazing.
And so he did. And so he's amazing. Yeah, he's such an amazing guy. He's come to the conferences too. Before, I met his dad. His dad came to one of the conferences too. Mm-hmm. And yeah, my memory of Father Howe, when he came last time, he gave the most Chestertonian and powerful sermon at our Vigil Mass, and it just has stuck in my mind for years. He's so good. He just really gets Chesterton, and he's brought him into his faith and everything. And so he's going to be talking on. It just occurred to him apparently on how when we celebrate birthdays, when we celebrate our birthday, we are celebrating life. And he just had this whole insight on Chestertonian joy and life and birthdays, and so that's what he's going to talk about.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and he's also a very impressive guy. I remember when he was still a teenager, I think, we were performing, my dad, Julian, and some other friends of the Chesterton community were putting on a play, one of Chesterton's plays called The Surprise. Mm-hmm. And it was back when we were here in Minnesota. And they realized they needed a set. And this was, the play was a couple days away. And my dad was like, call up Spencer Howe. He was just Spencer Howe at the time. Just call him up, and he calls him and said, "Hey, we need a set, and we need it built in a day." And he's like, "Yep, okay, I'll do it." And then, sure enough, the next day, I think it was on the day of the performance, he's putting some final paintbrushes on it. And this I think it's a 2-story set that people have to walk on the second floor, and he just built it in practically a day. And so that was just one of the talents he had, but he's not just hands-on. He's very scholarly. He, learned Italian very, very quickly when he went to Italy. And so he's just very impressive, but he's very humble and great to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. He's I love him. Yeah. I pray for him all the time.
Yeah. Well, the last person I have on my list is Eric Demiuz. And I also interviewed him. He was a great interview. We talked about why does God allow evil? Because he is a theology professor at his Chesterton Academy that he's a headmaster of. And right. If you haven't listened to that, you should listen. And it's a conversation. He did a great job leading it. And did you want to say anything else on that, Nancy?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing him too. He's come to the Chesterton Schools Network conferences and he's been able to speak, and he's always dynamic. He's a young guy, and I think people are really going to enjoy him.
Yeah, his talk is called "Education as a Joyful Crisis," and that just makes me interested to know what he's going to. My brain goes 100 different ways that could go. And I'm excited to hear his talk. Very much so.
His entire talk is witches, wolves, and will-o'-the-wisps. Education as a joyful crisis.
Oh, cool.
So that adds just a little more intrigue to it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. Did we want to mention anyone else, or do we want to keep it a secret?
I really think that we should mention Mark Matthews, because
right.
I mean, what an unusual topic. Chesterton and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
How's he even going to combine those two?
Yeah. So let me give you some context for this. I was friends with Mark Matthews, or acquaintances, colleagues rather. And he is a senior software engineer at Google, which is just immediately very, very interesting. But not only that, but he used to work for DreamWorks as an animator. He specialized on working on the hair in the animation of DreamWorks, which is so cool. And so that's why he's talking on artificial intelligence, because he's in the software world. And he's also just a huge Chesterton fan. And I talked to him a couple times. He's just so fun to talk to, and he's just so lighthearted. He's not bogged down by the software world or the AI world, because you can kind of forget how to interact with humans. But no, he's just so great. I am also interested to see what he talks about. Little known fun fact, he's also a stand-up comedian. Did you know that? I forgot that. Yeah.
So I think he should be able to give a good talk, right?
Oh yeah. I know he's looking forward to it a lot. Yeah. I kind of want to mention one more person.
Okay.
And we haven't really announced. I mean, I guess you can go to chesterton.org/conference for these details, right? Or our site. Yep. But Jeremy Darling is also one of the speakers, and he was one of the first people that I interviewed way back when I started hosting the podcast. And he was very popular, actually. He got a lot of views and listens. And it makes sense. I mean, he's very, very talented at speaking, because he's an actor. He's an actor, and he's on fire for the faith, because he was a recent convert. I saw him in a musical here in Minnesota. It was called the Catholic Young Adults Musical. And it was so fun. It was written by one of our friends, Father Kyle Kowalczyk. And afterwards, I went up to him and I asked him, I wanted to just say thank you and good job. And he said he was talking to someone about his conversion. He had just converted. And he's like, and I read these people, such and such, Dale Alquist. I'm like, oh, hey, that's my dad. And he's like, no way. Hey, do you want to go get a beer right now? And it was like 10 at night. And after he had done a 3-hour musical, and I'm like, sure. And so he talked about his whole story, and you can listen to it on the podcast. And he's just so great. He's so thankful to be able to come and share more stories with everyone. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to him too. Yeah. I mean, there's probably 7 or 8 other speakers who are coming. We won't mention them all, but they're all really interesting people, and they all have interesting stories, and I look forward to all of them. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So everyone, chesterton.org/conference. I'll put a more direct link in the description. You just go right there and register. And that's about it.
Wait, I have one more thing.
Okay.
So you can order your t-shirt, your conference t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a travel mug, or fleece starting now.
Ooh.
We just got the store up. So there's a website, and next week it's going to be connected to our chesterton.org/conference. But if you're
early to the show.
Yeah, or if you just want to go directly to this website, you can go to chesterton.orderpromos, orderpromos.com. And you can order. So if you're coming in person, you can place your order, and they're going to package up your order and put your name on it, and it'll be on a table when you get to the conference, so you don't have to pay for shipping. If you're virtual and you want to wear your Chesterton, and like one of the things we're making is one of those sweatshirts with GK Chesterton's signature, across the chest.
Cool.
So it's a really cool sweatshirt. Or if you want the conference t-shirt and you want to participate when you're virtual, so you show that you're part of us, you can order it and have it shipped. It's really not very expensive to ship. I saw the prices. It's like maybe $8 to ship.
Wow,
your items.
Great.
So
Okay.
anyway, yeah, you can get your stuff now.
I'll definitely also put that link in the description if you're watching on YouTube. So July 29th to 31st at the Sheraton Lyle Naperville Hotel in Chicago.
Yep.
And that's where it is. And one more thing. I mean, if you lasted this long, you can, when you're registering, you can type in the discount code podcast10 to get a $10 off of any registration. So
however, if you're a member, you get a member discount. So don't forget to do that to sign into your dashboard.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for being with me today and shedding some light on the great events at the conference, the great speakers. And thank you everyone for listening. Until next time, help us to make uncommon sense more common.